It's hundreds of times of trying.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
They add on a lot of their emotions, how they're feeling at that time, because Chinese art is more about expressing your feelings. This is what I like.
Legit.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tea Time with Jesse. I'm your host, Jesse, and today I'm here with Simon Zhu.
Hi, everyone.
Simon is an artist here based in LA, living very close to where I live, actually, in downtown
block
LA.
away.
A block
Yeah.
away in downtown LA. And Simon, why don't you give yourself a little, very brief introduction, let our friends know who you are.
Hi, everyone. My name is Simon Zhu. I'm originally from Shenzhen, China. Moved here when I was 16 to San Diego for high school, and then I went to college in the Bay Area. And then I moved to LA in 2015, and I've been here for almost 10 years.
Nice, awesome. So you've been in LA much longer than I have, actually.
Yeah, more local than you, I guess.
And so Simon's an artist, and the reason he's here is because we are designing a tea set together, and we're also going to be working with Simon, hopefully, on some merch.
Yeah.
And so I figured that if we were going to be talking about this sort of stuff anyway, we might as well do it here on the podcast, be able to share with everybody a little bit about what we're trying to make and why I'm really excited to be doing it with you, because you actually reached out to me on just like social media.
Yeah.
And we're like, I think I can see my apartment from the porch.
Yeah. It's a funny story. I was just like on Instagram, just scrolling, aimlessly like everyone else.
Yeah.
And then I saw your account posting about tea. So my first reaction is like, who is this white boy just like talking about Chinese tea?
Yeah, like what's going on?
I'm like, but then like for a second I was like, wait, he actually knows what he's talking about.
That's good. I'm glad.
Because I saw your legit tea set, and then I'm like, this is legit. It's like
That's good.
exactly what you get in China. And then I start to look at more of your videos, and then I'm like, hold on a second, you're on this patio, and then I see my apartment building right behind it. So I'm just like, you live in downtown too.
Yeah.
So it's honestly pretty rare to see people in downtown that's actually that cultured, especially into like tea
Way
and
to
Chinese
drag
culture.
the entirety of downtown LA.
Yeah,
no, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of influencers here, but not as many tea people, I think.
especially not like traditional stuff.
Yeah.
Here it's more music, film or like art,
And that was one of the things
Yeah.
I liked about your art. I mean, how would you describe your stuff? But I think that you have one of the things I liked is I could see you had like a classical Chinese art training kind of from the beginning.
Yeah, so I've been doing Chinese painting since I was a kid. My grandma was the one that actually really kind of pushed me to do more artistic stuff. So I've always been artistic, but then it's not until college I went to art school in the Bay Area. It's not until then I started doing traditional Western oil painting training. At the same time, I met Tibetan thangka painter. His name is Jamyam Singye. He's actually one of my favorite person in the world. I start to see him every weekend. Every Sunday, I go to his house, hang out with him and his wife, and then they'll make me tea, cook me food, and we'll paint together.
Whoa.
So I was kind of like a student.
That's great.
Like a disciple to him.
Well, that's a perfect place to segue into the first tea that we're drinking today, which is the zangcha.
Yeah,
Tibetan
black tea.
So this is the Tibetan black tea. And so this is one of the new teas that have just come out with my new subscription box. So if you guys want to be in the tea club, you can take a look at the bag there. So it's a darker flavor. If you've been familiar with Tibetan people, I'm sure you've had this before at some point.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the tea that is made in those areas, and as you were saying, they make milk tea with it.
Milk tea, yeah.
How would you describe the Tibetan tea?
Well, Tibetan tea, it depends on the region. Central Tibet, it's more Mongolian style. It's salty and then added with ghee butter, like yak butter. Other parts of Tibet, I think they just drink it plain or sometimes with sugar. But I think for most people, Tibetan tea was known with salt. Yeah. And it's more like a soup.
Yeah, I went there. So I went to Qinghai in 2013. I can take a smell, by the way.
Ooh, it smells creamy.
Yeah, it's
nutty.
Good. It's very nutty. It's very dark. It's funky. Creamy is a good word for it, actually.
It is really creamy.
That's an interesting, it's funny to think of a creamy scent, but it's there.
Yeah.
So I went to Qinghai in 2013, and later when we talk about the Thangkas, I'll actually have a chance to show people a Thangka painting that I bought in Qinghai on the Tibetan plateau in 2013. But when I went there and we had tea, it was very much kind of a part of everyday life. Like whatever meal you were drinking, especially lunch, you're going to be having this yak butter tea. And the yak butter had a very interesting, strong. It was strong.
Yeah.
It was not hiding in there.
I think the closest you can find in the States are gonna be like ghee butter.
Yeah.
It's the closest I can think of.
I should try to do it with ghee, although it's so romantic to try it with the yaks. If anybody knows, I have an open question. If you know where I can get yak butter in Southern California, tell me. Because I would love to make a yak butter tea video, but it seems so weak to just use regular butter.
I know.
Like I got to use the yak
flavorless.
That's why we're doing it. So
should we try this?
Yeah. So this is the wash. So you can give it to the tea pets if you would like. So feel free to pour that over the tea pets. The Tibetan tea, especially the heicha. So this is a heicha, which is a dark tea. The type of tea that in the West is called black tea, and in China is called red tea.
Yeah.
And then this is what in China is called black tea, which in English, because to make it even more confusing, we call it dark tea. It's very funky, kind of
I like it.
Nutty. Yeah, it's good. Well, you haven't tried it yet. You gotta.
That's true, but it smells amazing.
Yeah,
it smells very yummy.
Yeah. And hopefully this will be a good guide for you as somebody who has some interaction with the Tibetan culture to see what you think of the quality we got. Very dark.
I can already smell the bold flavor.
Yeah. It's got a very special kind of scent to it. So, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, thank you so much for coming over.
Of course.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Wow.
What do you think?
This is good. This is what I like.
Legit.
Yeah. It's legit.
This is a good thing.
It's strong but not bitter. It will be so good with milk.
Yeah. So because I think a lot of times people ask me, oh, should you add milk to the tea? Should you add sugar to the tea? And generally I say no, because in the Chinese tea tradition, they don't usually add it.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is once you get into these sort of like
nomadic
groups or ethnic groups within China that drink it different ways. And so for this, because it was kind of almost developed with the Tibetan milk tea culture, it makes sense to use this for a milk tea as well. Although you can just drink it straight.
Yeah.
So it's a fun tea. So tell me a little bit more about the your traditional training and your work with the Tibetan artists, because I think that's a fun place to start while we're drinking the Tibetan tea.
Yeah, I've been a Buddhist since I was pretty young, but then I wouldn't say I'm like really practicing it. It's more like my grandparents are pretty devoted Buddhist believers, and then I do agree with a lot of the philosophies of Buddhism, but I'm definitely more drawn to the art form. When I was super young, I think when I was 7 or 8, my parents took me to Dunhuang.
Oh yeah. So explain what Dunhuang is.
Dunhuang, it's like this ancient Buddhist cave in China that's have all these frescoes of Buddhist murals. From all the way to Tang dynasty to like Qing dynasty.
So World Heritage Site. It's like the place to go if you're anywhere. If you're going to Gansu, if you're going up to that part of China, it's like the thing to see.
Yeah, so that's one of my big inspiration. I start to read a lot of books about it, and then apparently that's a really strong link to European art, especially the lapis they use on the wall, the blue. And then the people, like you see their outfit, a lot of them, it's wearing this almost like a suit looking dress.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. You see the culture crossover in this part of Asia, because it's Central Asia. And then this area has been conquered by so many different people. There's so many influence. The Muslim influence, Tibetan influence, Han Chinese influence, Mongolian influence.
I think people a lot of times when in the modern age, they think like, oh, exchange between the West and China started after the Second World War. It's been going on a long time.
It's been going on. This spot is right in the middle of the Silk Road. So you see the influence, the spice from, the spice, and then from India, from the Middle East, and then that's also how a lot of the tea got spread to other countries.
Yeah, so it's definitely it's on that crossroads in that area, and so the Buddhist art from there. Describe what is Buddhist art like in general, like for people who have no background in Buddhist art.
If you're familiar with like Orthodox icon art, icon painting, it's really similar to thangka.
Okay.
It's it's usually for Tibetan thangka painting, there's a lot of influence. Some of them are more Chinese looking. That's like the eastern part of Tibet. It's a little bit more like Chinese imperial court painting, while central Tibet, it's more like Indian, Nepalese, the kind of New Warli style. And then in Qinghai, which in Tibetan is called Golok, and also Amdo. Then they have more of their own style going on. So yeah, different region, they're all influenced by different kinds of art. But the tradition I came from my teacher, it's from province of Kang. It's in western Sichuan right now. So they're called Kangba style. Yeah.
And then
Kangba Hanzi.
Kangba Hanzi. Oh, okay.
It's like a word to describe Tibetan men.
Okay.
So Kangba men are famous for being tough and strong. Yeah, but they have the best milk tea.
That's really cool. So is this style of thangka that I have in that style?
This is a Regong thangka.
Okay,
Yeah,
so why don't we bring on the thangka, if we get Yuran, if you could help us bring on the thangka. So this thangka I bought when I was in Shanghai in 2013, and it's been hanging over my bed. There we go. Ta-da! 可以了，你坐一坐. Yeah, we can sit here and kind of show everybody the thangka. So what do you know about this? Because my story with this is that when I was a Fulbright scholar in China, there was another Fulbright scholar who was a year before mine who was researching thangkas, and specifically the interaction between the Han Chinese and the Tibetans around and through the art of the thangka. And while I was there, I was like, these are so beautiful. I'm super going to regret if I don't buy one. Even though I had been graduated from college for like 1 year and had no money, I was like, I'm going to regret if I don't get one. So I got this thangka, not knowing that much about it. And so I'm actually kind of fun. Like maybe you actually know more about my thangka than I do. I'm certain that you do.
This is an amazing thangka.
Yeah. So explain what this is.
So first of all, you see the background. It's black, so it's called heitang, black thangka. So then usually for black background thangka, they use a lot of gold line because the gold will pop out more if the background is dark. So this is what you can see here. And the deity here, it's Green Tara, Lü Dumo. It's a very popular deity in Tibetan Buddhism. It's a feminine manifestation of Avalokitesvara. Guanyin, like in Chinese tradition, Guanyin it's a female. In Tibetan tradition, the Guanyin Bodhisattva himself is still a man, but he has two versions. That's female, and then Green Tara is one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and for those of you who are tea fans, if you guys know our Tie Guanyin, our Iron Buddha, or we call it Iron Goddess of Mercy.
Yeah.
The Goddess of Mercy is Guanyin, is Avalokiteshvara.
Yeah, it is Green Tara.
Yeah. So this is actually kind of an auspicious thing for a tea guy to have, right?
I know, yeah, for sure.
So
and she's green.
Yeah, and she's green. So that's, why isn't our Tie Guanyin selling more? Like we got to get some work. No, but yeah. So this and this style of painting in general, like what are thangkas for people that don't know?
Well, thangka in Tibetan means scroll, rolled up painting, because Tibetans are nomadic people. They don't. A lot of them don't have. Most Tibetans are Buddhist, and then usually when you're a nomad, you don't have a shrine room in your yurt. So then they will carry a painting of their religious figures, and then they will carry them around when they travel at different areas. So the
scroll is kind of the nomadic version of having a shrine.
Having a statue, I guess, yeah.
And so some of these I've seen in China, if you go I live right next to the Yonghegong Lama Temple, which is a Buddhist temple, their gift shop. It's unbelievable. They'll have $1 million painting in there that's the size of a wall. And
there are a lot of not as good quality thangkas around, and there are a lot of them are prints. But then this is original one. Yeah. So this one is very, very. I love it.
Yeah. The Ruogong, the city that we got this from. City is a big word. It's a town. This is apparently where a lot of the sort of the kuang liao, like the paints, the paint comes from. And so one of the reasons why this city apparently got famous was that the minerals in the soil and the very good colored paint that you can get from the rocks created a lot of really great thangkas. And then over time, people know that this is the place to go to get them. And so
I think another thing that's very unique about thangka or Asian painting in general is that before portable paint were invented, they were using rocks like minerals or precious gemstones. grind them into powder, adding glue to it. That's how they paint.
Wow.
That's why usually a thangka will last for a long time.
And it was funny, I took this down for this shoot and I was looking at it, I was like, has it kind of like aged a little bit? And when I looked through it, I thought it had aged a little, but actually it's not.
No, I think it's just dust.
I think it's just dust, and like it's held up pretty well for being 11 years old, you know. So that's very cool. I'm going to put this aside now because my arm is killing me. If you could help us make sure that that doesn't get destroyed on its way out of the shoot. Thank you.
So thangka is scared of water, so be careful
we
not
to
to
careful
speed
it around the tea table. So this was sort of your background was in Chinese art, then you went to Buddhist art, and then
at the same time I was doing oil painting.
And oil painting.
At school, but
what do you think? What advantage does it give you as an artist to have training in both the Chinese and Western schools of painting?
It definitely make me see things in different ways. Whenever I see a Chinese painting, I would feel like, oh, what is it gonna look like if it's actually a Renaissance style painting? What if you paint all these Taoist deities or Buddhist deities in a Renaissance way? You know, one thing that really that's interesting. I talked about it. I wrote a research paper about it in college. Is the first Christian painting in China. They are actually, of Joseph, Mary, and Jesus, but then in a Chinese style art. So it's very interesting because the image of Mary, it's a lot like Guan Yin in Chinese art. They're both holding a baby.
Wow.
So I don't know where this come from. In Chinese art, Guan Yin holding a baby.
Yeah.
I feel like you probably have some Catholic influence. I'm not really sure.
Well, this is like the cool thing about when one style of art goes to a second place, they try to imitate from the beginning.
Localize it.
You localize. You know, as an artist, you can't come in and just be like, enjoy Jackson Pollock now. Like you can't. It's like you can't do that. So you try to find ways of making it more accessible, I think.
Yeah. So when it comes to art, I feel like I'm always more drawn to traditional, like skillful art. But so in my entire college, I guess I was working really hard to get my foundation down, like the traditional skill, how do you portray light, how do you do metal, how do you do sky, that kind of stuff. But then after my bachelor degree, I actually went to a school in LA that's only for graphic art from computer, so computer visual effects, CGI stuff. So I do that because I want to have my traditional foundation done first, and then I want to move to digital art, more into like industrial design and 3D animation.
Well, and this is one of the reasons why I think that we hit it off when we were starting to talk about doing our tea sets and our merch. So for a lot of tea stuff in general, like this is kind of behind the scenes running a tea company sort of situation. I kind of always have two choices for how I'm going to make tea equipment for the site. Choice number one is to go with like the porcelain manufacturers at a place like Jingdezhen. So Jingdezhen is known as the highest quality porcelain in China, and it's been the imperial kiln. It's like very, very well made stuff. The problem is, if I got everything handmade in Jingdezhen, every cup would be $300, and like nobody would.
I have
actually
a
be
few
able to,
from them. I think I'm gonna pass down to my kids.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing you would do, though. It's like I can get it, but I'm guessing most people on the internet are not going to be wanting to buy one-off $300 cups.
Yeah, especially if you get one from some master ceramist.
And there are ways to kind of like play this game. Like if you can try to find a master ceramicist whose disciple is
their students or their kids.
But at the same time, it's like this is still very hard. The other way is to think about the types of technology that they have now to be able to do painting. Like these teacups that we have here, these are blue-white porcelain, and these are produced by having an art piece that is designed and then either drawn on paper and then digitized, or it could be designed digitally.
Yeah.
And then they create a special type of sticker, basically, that has the ink in the sticker on paper. You put it on the porcelain.
Oh, then you fire it?
And then you fire it.
I see.
The paper burns away and the ink goes into the cup. Now there's many levels of quality of this.
Yeah.
So like you could do really cheaply made stuff, or you could make it really well. There's a lot of room in between. But that technique is basically what we have been using, because that allows us to get tea at a price that's like, it's not cheap.
It's accessible to most,
It's accessible.
to more people.
Yeah, and also it's unfortunately like just reality. They're big, they're bulky, they're fragile. It costs a lot of money to ship. The shipping is a big part of the cost.
Yeah.
But that's going to be the same for anything. But like when we were trying to come up with this original idea, and the idea that I had was like, I want to make a tea set which is not just a random mountain, or this place might not even exist. The mountain that's there. I was thinking, let's make a tea set of Tianzhazhai Mountain, where Sister Ai lives, where we get our tea from, where we've been working with the farmers, and use like not just any mountains, the shape of the actual mountains, you know, not just any waterfall, like the shape of the waterfall that the place is known for, where the ancient tea trees are, you know, not just any tree, like the tea tree that we use to pick the leaves. And so I found this very difficult to communicate to the porcelain people, because they're like, well, what does the mountain look like? I'm like, it looks like the mountain in this photo, but where does it go? Like, they weren't artists that had the traditional painting experience. They were expert at taking the print and getting it onto the porcelain, but they didn't know how to make the thing. And when we were talking about this, he was just like, let me get a sketch pad. Do you have anything to write? And then like 5 minutes, you did what took like 4 weeks of communication to try to figure out, because you came from an artistic background.
I'm pretty quick too.
Yeah. So like we have some updates on that on your phone, which we'll look at in a moment with real time. My first reaction to the files that we're getting.
I hope it's going to be good.
I think it'll be good. But before we get to that, and I actually check the files, what did you think when I pitched that idea to you?
I think it's great. I mean, you have to understand Chinese art, it's never really about mimicking reality. You know, that's the biggest difference between Eastern art and Western art. Western art, when it started, it served as a portrait. You know, it's almost like a photograph.
Yeah.
But Chinese art, yeah, there are realistic painting, but then it was never really that popular. That's more of the emperor, you know, hire somebody to paint like a portrait of their wives or something like that. But then for the 文人画, you know, the literati art, it's more Impressionism. It's, you know, they will go to a mountain and then they will look at the mountain, meditate on it maybe for like 2 weeks, and then they go back to their study and then they will draw, they will paint the mountain from their
So they
memory.
would purposefully not draw it
They don't. They don't want to do it lifelike, because they add on a lot of their emotions, how they're feeling at that time. Because Chinese art is more about expressing your feelings. That's mixed with the scenery. Scenery is always just kind of like part of the idea. So if you are in a beautiful place, you could feel sad, you could feel happy. You know, that you can see that from a lot of Chinese poems. You know, a lot of them are complaining, a lot of them are whining.
Yeah, a lot of ancient Chinese. I love this.
But then
if you look at a lot of ancient Chinese poetry, it's mostly whining. But it does have that like sort of forlorn. I think when I look at it, and you can tell me whether this is a good take or not, but when I look at the Chinese art, I think of it as like the use of the space.
Yeah.
It's about molding the empty space and where to keep empty, as opposed to assuming everything should be full and I'm going to draw the details.
Yeah, empty space is very important, because that's where your imagination continues. It's a lot about your own feeling that you mix into the environment. For this project we're doing right now, because I've been to Yunnan, but I've never been to Tianzhazhai or the specific place you've been to, but then I have a general idea, because I know what the landscape of Yunnan will look like, and then I have reference from you.
Yeah, so we sent some photos of what we were looking for, and then you've been to Yunnan. And,
I drink the tea from the village, so I think I got a pretty good overall idea of what this would look like. And then after that, I just kind of meditate on this whole idea. For a while, I started my sketching on paper, and then put everything to Photoshop. And then I use, AI, I use Photoshop to create what I want. And then hopefully we'll like it.
Well, let's take a look and we'll see what it looks like. And then we'll go through, I'm particularly interested in the process of where the hand painted and where the traditional stuff mixes in with the technology. I think we'll talk about that going forward. But let's take a look here. Real time. Seeing it happen. I have not seen these before, so it's possible he's done a terrible job and it's going to get really awkward. I mean, no, I'm sure you did a great job. I'm very excited to see. This is one of the funnest things now about running the tea company is like 3 years ago when I started this, I was like, it was just me in my kitchen, or my dad's kitchen during COVID. And now it's like, we get to actually like work with some real artists and I get to show up and stuff has like been done while I was away. So,
here.
Oh, I love it. Okay, we're in great shape already. So, we're going to be posting a picture of this on the screen so that you guys can see what we're referencing. But just my first take on this. So explain what we're doing, what we're seeing here, and what we have.
So this is 千家寨. Okay, this is in ancient script. This is 传, 小传. So it's usually more of a elegant, artistic way to font of Chinese characters. So it's actually one of my favorite Chinese characters, fonts.
That's great.
And then, so Chinese paintings start from the right, and then it's like a scroll, right? You open it, and then it goes to the left. So the first thing you see is a tea tree. I think we talk about how you want them to be cohesive as a whole landscape, but then also you want them to be different fragments of it so you can extract them.
Yeah, so this is part of the engineering challenge of this, is that if we were making just one painting for a scroll, we could really do a lot with it. Part of the challenge, if you see, of making a, if you could hold that, of making a Gaiwan set, is that the image you need for this round cup
There's no end, there's no start.
There's no end, there's no start.
It's a cycle.
But it's also very different from what you need for the lid, which needs to be composed of different elements. So we were thinking to save time and energy, we could create a landscape that was built by multiple elements and fragments.
Yeah, but then there are also just a whole landscape.
Yeah, and I really like it. Again, this is the benefit of, again, working with somebody who has the classical experience. Like seeing it as a story from right to left makes total sense. So we come to Yunnan, we see Tianzhazhai, we see the tea tree.
So the first thing you see is a tea tree, and then going this way, that's the waterfall that's in the reference, and then that's more tree and landscape, and then I kind of want to create this little idea of this like a water pond at the bottom.
And again, I like of using the space. There's these kind of are separate elements, but when you zoom in the area, if you're looking at this, like if you were looking at an object, and again, we're going to have this on a round background, so any given portion of this will kind of look like a whole picture.
Yeah, and of course this is the first pass.
This is the first pass, but like this totally gives me that water element area, and you haven't been to that actual waterfall. I took a video there. There was a path approaching from the right side from above the waterfall that you kind of see it before you get there, but there is a pond there.
I saw there's a photo of you standing on a little island like this.
And then and so that's kind of the inspiration for this rock, which is super cool. But again, as you said, this is not like, oh, that's literally what the waterfall looks like. This is a representation of your idea of what the waterfall looks like.
Of my impression of the place I've never been to.
So that's great. So okay, so we move on from there.
And then we'll move to the left, and then 这个是云海.
云海, 对.
和山, the mountains and the fog cloud.
Yeah, and so this was something I really wanted to get in there, was the sea of clouds.
There's also, one of the biggest part of Chinese landscape painting. It's always the cloud, because that's where the empty space, the negative space is. And that's where your imagination
And if we can maybe even show some of the reference photos that I gave you, but like it actually looks like that. It's like it's really cool. You see the Chinese painting style, and then you go to China, to the tea mountains, and to these really far off places, and you're like, oh, I get why they drew it like that.
It actually looks like that.
It actually looks like that. It's not just that it's stylized, although it is somewhat stylized, but people think it's like, oh, there's no way the mountains jut up straight from the clouds 300 feet. It actually looks like that.
Yeah, and the inspiration, the style behind this art, it's Song Dynasty landscape paintings, which is considered one of the most elegant, most profound art style in Chinese history.
So what about the Song style made it so powerful?
I guess in the West we'll call it it's more Zen. A lot of the Japanese painting, a lot of the Japanese tea ceremony was spread to Japan through monks that 他们叫仿宋僧，或者是浅唐僧。It's Buddhist monks in Japan that were sent to China in the Song dynasty, but then at that time they're not allowed to go into the city. If they're a monk, they're only allowed to stay in a monastery in China. So everything they learned about Chinese culture at that time, or just Chan or Zen monastery style. That's why they got the whole matcha ceremony. They draw on top of the foam.
So a lot of the current Japanese tea ceremony is based heavily off
Song
of
dynasty,
Song dynasty,
which is this technique is pretty much lost in China because we can maybe talk about a little bit about the evolution of Chinese tea.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could. I don't know if we want to go on a tangent there, but it's very interesting stuff.
Maybe we need another episode.
Sure, yeah, maybe second half we need another episode about the history of tea in Japan and China. But basically, the one of the things that I like though about learning this sort of history is that I feel as a tea guy, the history gives me this backdrop where when people ask me questions online, like why is it done this way, even if I don't know the answer. There is a reason.
There is a
Somebody
reason.
900 years ago found there was a reason why they made these aesthetic choices and why they continued through to today. And so it's not like with a lot of stuff, they're like, why are you selling whatever, hot sauce peach oolong? You're selling that because you think you can sell it. So like, I don't know how I would run a tea brand any other way. Like to be able to have that 2,000 years of like tea history to go back into, you can always find inspiration, and it's kind of cool that it'll show up hopefully on one of our tea sets one day. So in designing this Yunhai, how do you draw this from a technical standpoint? How do you do the mountains and clouds thing?
So for this one, it's created in Photoshop. So I have a brush that's a watercolor brush.
Okay.
It's not a physical brush, but I have a Cintiq, so I do everything. On the tablet. And what I do is that I draw one portion of this mountain. And then I use the AI generative feel that's provided by Photoshop. We started like last year.
To create more.
So basically, I would just circle this area right next to where I painted the mountains, and I said replica or copy the style I created here and make more.
So of these mountains, let me take a guess. My guess is
which one do you think I actually
I think this one is real, the one that, or real, I don't know.
It's
real.
painted by hand.
The one painted by hand, I think this big peak over here and then over here. That was my guess. This one is, and then some of this are, this in between. So basically I created, this is two, okay? This is the Yunhai, this is the mountain. And then whatever that's in between are generated field. Interesting. Okay. So then how do you decide where you're going to draw the line on what you want to do by hand, what you want to do by computer, what you want to do by AI? Are these hard lines for you, or it's all soft?
It's soft. It's more like I will draw the key point of what this one fragment is about. Let's say if this one it's about mountains, I will draw the mountains, and then maybe just, I will draw maybe 30% of the frame by hand, and then I will generate the rest of the area using AI.
Does it work every time?
No, it doesn't work every time.
So how does it work? Like, what is your process for yes, no?
Well, I would say it's hundreds of times of trying to fix it, because your next AI is going to be based on your previous AI. So if I generate this area, I say, Qinghua style mountain, just like what I did below here. Usually it will give me 3 options, and then usually I probably won't even pick one of them. And then I'll just keep doing it until I get the one I like. And then based on that, I'll keep that.
So it's almost like you're a little bit blind as the creator too. Like you made what you wanted, but then to have it finish the rest, you may not get that for the first try, the second try, the third try.
No, you won't,
Do you think it's just easier? Is it still easier to do this than to just draw them all?
Let me explore more with different composition, different style, especially composition-wise. I think that's very important.
Because you could always decide to have it create a composition. You say, I like where it put the stuff, but not what it looks like. But now I can actually draw that.
Yeah,
or you can.
you have to think about Chinese art traditionally. You can't once you put the dot or put the ink on the paper, you can't change it anymore. There's no eraser. There's no going back button you can press.
Yeah.
So usually everything is done in your head. So and then when you do it, that all you need to know is that you can't regret anything. But I guess what's good about digital art or AI is that they let you explore options. It give you more creative freedom to delete what you didn't like or to choose which one you prefer more.
Do you feel like it's killing the nature of the expression to be able to have that safety?
I mean, we're in a digital time right now. Of course, if we're talking about fine art, that you don't want it's more of performance art that you don't want to show any regret. You don't want to go back anyway.
Yeah.
Then that's another thing. But then I feel like if it comes to design work, especially like what we are working on, we have to consider how easy is it going to be for the artist, for the people to put it on a ceramic.
Yeah.
And then if this is something that
you need to be able to make changes.
You need to make changes. You have different plans, plan A, plan B, plan C, and then there's going to be a lot of revising things. So I think when it comes to that, yes, AI tool is a great tool for designers, especially graphic designers, artists, to explore.
Do you worry that like one day you're just going to lose your entire job as a graphics person to AI? Like it'll just get so good, you just I want to like we tried. Like just out of curiosity, if we just went to the basic AI things and said, make a blue-white porcelain style mountain of blah, blah, blah in Yunnan with a tea tree and a waterfall, and we can show you guys the results.
Yeah.
The art style, I mean, it looked interesting, but it was not possible to do what we wanted to do fully by AI. And I wasn't ever making those thinking we would, because I think making AI, as an artist myself, I'm really a full-time comedian and performance artist that it just turns out you don't get paid for that. So, I sell tea as a way to be able to do what I want as an artist.
And LA is an expensive city.
LA is expensive. And also just like, I learned from being a comedian in China and having 2 million followers and waking up the next day and still having made no money, that it's like you have to sell something. Unfortunately, as a reality as an artist, you have to sell something, whether that's your time on somebody else's project, whether that's a ticket to a live show, whether that's an online class, whether it's a box of tea. There's no point where you just get so good at making your content that you just make money on the content. You can make money on YouTube clicks, but if you had enough YouTube clicks to make a living, you could be doing any number of other things to support your art.
Yeah.
So I, as an artist, I don't like this future where I'm thinking whether artists are going to get replaced by the AI. But do you think that's like actually anything related to the reality we're living in? Or is it just like people's deep-seated fear of being replaced, like any type of worker would be worried about being replaced by machines?
I think every time when a new technology was invented, there's going to be people getting put out of work, Throughout the history, art is also always evolving when technology was invented. Like portable paint, there was a new thing that was invented, I think, in the 18th century. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But then that changed the photography when it was invented. Then for a long time, people think, there's no need for painting because you can just take a photo. But then we still see that. Then that's the reason why Western art, after photography, Western art started to become more Impressionism, more like an Asian
stuff you can't do with a
yeah,
photograph.
Exactly. There's still always going to be a human element in the art creation process. I don't really think technology is going to overshadow that, even though that right now, at this moment, I do feel like a lot of artists are are losing their jobs because, let's say, like a Hollywood film company, they used to have a whole art creation team. Now they probably just need 2 people to finish a whole art direction for a project, which is kind of sucks because that's kind of my job. I'm an art director. But then at the same time, I feel like it is competitive, it's getting more competitive, but then the good ones will always stay because the technology can never replace the human elements.
Yeah, this true skill
in art.
It's almost like in journalism, like they've experimented with AI writing write-ups for baseball games, because if you look at the baseball game score, you can say, oh, you can get some basic storylines of like Red Sox came back to win in the 8th inning rally, and like they can figure that out as a computer and write a basic description of a baseball game. But So if you're a mediocre journalist writing sports games, you're going to lose your job.
Yeah.
But if you were actually really good, ironically, those people are now more valuable than ever.
That's exactly what I think. You know, I think it's more like it enhance your work, especially if you're a good artist.
Yeah, if you can only hire 2 and you're a legit
You're gonna hire
studio,
the best ones.
You hire the best and you keep them happy.
It's more, I definitely think the AI technology is more like a filter. It will filter out a lot of mediocre artists, which is also kind of sad because there are artists, because art is kind of hard to judge what's good, what's bad.
Yeah.
But I feel like now it's a time for artists to really think about your style and then what you're bringing to the table with the help of AI.
Yeah. I think that like that to me, like, I think there's a lot of negativity around the use of technology.
It's a fear,
yeah, and I get where the fear is coming from. And why this is why my general idea of like what I wanted to do on this project with you and including doing this podcast, I really feel, and this is a feeling, I don't know this, but I feel like as AI stuff becomes more in use, we have 2 options. One option is to ignore the fact that this technology exists and get wiped, which is not really, like, unfortunately, that's a bad way of saying it, but like, if you ignore oncoming technology, like, you don't want to be a portrait maker in the 1800s and be like, I don't admit photography exists. Like, like that's not a good plan to just refuse to deny the existence.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, or even with people now, like I know people who are entertainers who like don't realize that TikTok is bigger than television and they want to make it in television. I'm like, TikTok is straight bigger. Like, you can still do television, but you don't want to be that guy in radio that was like, like, I don't think television is going to be a big thing. I only do radio as a matter of principle. It doesn't make sense to do it as a matter of principle. So, but then the second option, so how do you do it? And so I have this feeling when it comes to AI and art and culture, the thing that is going to be most valuable is the transparency. To say, here's how we did this. 1, I tried doing it purely by AI. Didn't work, but we found certain things. 2, we found an artist to be able to work with that uses traditional aspects here and AI aspects there. And then 3, even other technology, like we sell these cups. I don't say they're hand painted, but I think it's important people know they're not hand painted. But there's a reason they're not hand painted, because I don't want them to cost $400 each. You know, like it's not like I'm hiding anything. It's like, I really think that this is the best way to run the type of tea house I would want to run.
The stuff that we were designing, it's far from mass production, I would say, because they're still created by artists. You know, there's still human thoughts put into it. It's just like the way that we do it, it's a lot more efficient. It's like, you know, this podcast we're doing. Now we're just doing it, shooting on camera, on phones, but then 2,000 years ago, if you want to do this, you need to gather a group of people and to tell them about your tea.
Forget 2,000 years ago, even a couple years ago.
You need to have a film camera.
Or like, you know, we're shooting this on 3 iPhones over there and one really nice camera that ironically is shooting the tea because it has the best zoom. But like, even with the AI editing now, like the first draft of a lot of our podcasts are put together by AI, but we have a real human editor to be able to look at that and then to re-edit and also to do the shorts, which the AI doesn't do a good job on. And again, it's like, it is that efficiency sort of thing. It's like, the biggest challenge of being an internet creator is the internet is always hungry. The internet never has enough to eat. If I could come out with 10 videos a day, it would not be enough. And so you need to balance being able to come up with enough stuff that you can continue to feed the engine, which, you know, is that's another question about whether it should be that way or not, but that's the reality if you make your living online. You need to come up with a lot of stuff, but also the quality can't slip. And it's the same thing here of trying to figure out how do we make like a unique Gaiwan set that is going to be real art, but is coming at a price that people would be able to figure it out. Like, you know.
Something, and also I just feel like when it comes to AI technology, I feel like, yes, there is fear, there's a lot of misinformation around there, but I feel like just go and explore, you know, like, because for me, I guess because I am a 3D artist and a traditional artist, I'm always trying to play around to see what's really going on with technologies. Therefore, I can actually understand it better, you know. But then if I'm just like so scared of this new technology, I don't want to touch it because I'm so scared it's going to take over my job, then I would never really know what this is about.
Yeah.
So I feel like, yes, there is uncertainty about what AI is going to do, you know, especially to artists, to creative people. But if we just reject it, if we just don't want to explore it at all, then how are we going to know if this
Well,
is
it's
good
a classic
or
head in the
bad?
sand. Like, you know, like you can't stick your head in the sand and then say nothing else exists.
Yeah.
And so if somebody is a visual artist that is looking to explore AI and has that open mindset, what's a way they could do that?
I think, you know, never really give up the foundation of art creating. You know, like for me, I'm very comfortable using AI because I have a foundation in traditional painting. If somebody come over to me and accuse me of, you don't even know how to paint, you're just using AI, I can show them my art. You know, I have thangka art that I created, I have oil painting I did, you know, so I think, but then also what is art, you know, like is Jackson Pollock art also art? Because if you see it, if you don't like it, you can say, my 5-year-old can also do the same thing. So I feel like modern art is already kind of, you know, like a Dadaism. It's literally making fun of traditional art. So there's so many art, it's an open book. You know, you can, today, I think people are so open-minded about what art is, so why not be open-minded about what AI is making? You know, as long as you let people know that don't make an AI art and pretend that this is what you created with, you know, oil. You know, or at least make something. Don't use the AI generated art as the result of your art. Rather, actually, to use it to enhance your art or to make it, you know, 30% of your art, and then you can bring it to another level based on what AI provide you. That's kind of how I see it.
The classical training is kind of the thing that makes you comfortable putting your foot into the pool.
I also think
you know you're not going to drown. The worst case scenario, you can get out of the pool completely.
I also think, you know, with AI's technology, there's going to be a big comeback of traditional art. That's what I believe. I feel like, as you know, AI kind of democratizing art right now. It's decentralizing art. It's making art accessible to everyone. Now everyone can make art.
Yeah, I mean, like, think of how great YouTube is, or TikTok. Like,
everyone
it's
can make a
easy
channel.
to forget, but back even whatever 15 years ago, like starting a media channel, like you needed venture capital money.
Yeah.
You needed big agencies,
people
like lots of gatekeepers. You could make the show, and those have gatekeepers. You could try to get it onto a satellite, and that had gatekeepers. Like, but the democratization that the technology has given, I think, is just a straight up benefit.
Yeah.
It's given rise to people being able to, you know, put up some stuff on their wall and be able to reach people.
It sucks that less people are watching CNN or Fox News. But I feel this is gonna. I don't know, but I'm saying people have more options now.
No, people have more options.
You know, like I don't really watch mainstream news at all, or you know, I just watch YouTube. And,
So we have the Yunhai, the Sea of Clouds. We have the mountains,
and then that's the. Do we call it chalet? Because in Switzerland, they would call it chalet. Yeah.
We were trying to figure out about how to call the Zhongyuan, like the
Yunnan. Okay, Yunnan. It's like Switzerland. Yunnan is the Switzerland of China.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. And like they even have cheese.
Yeah, they have cheese. They have cows everywhere, and then the snow-capped mountains. Even their architecture, you know, like the wooden houses. It's very Swiss-like.
It's funny. It's like Switzerland if South Switzerland was a tropical rainforest.
Yes, it's kind of like
but it has the high snow mountains and the mountain area, and
glaciers,
the glaciers, the valleys. I mean, when we were in Tianzhai Mountain, like we went to a area to drink the danzhu, the single tree tea, pu'er tea. So they would take all the leaves from one tree, process it in one batch. And so we know exactly this tea comes from that tree. And it was really cool. The actual area, like we set out in the car to go there, and he pointed across this like giant, like, you know, there's this giant ravine between two mountain ranges. And they're like, we're going right there. Like, oh, are we almost there? Like, no, it's going to be 45 minutes of driving because you got to drive all the way down into the valley, all the way up the mountain. And so even though it's geographically very close, the mountains made it so that these different villages are not.
It's very dramatic.
It's very dramatic. I love Yunnan. I mean, one day, jessiestours.com, you can go and sign up for the email list. If I ever lead tea tours, I'm going to email that list. Don't ask me when it's happening. Don't ask me how much it costs. I know nothing. I know nothing at all. All I know is that if I do it, I will be emailing that list. So if you want to get on that list, jessiestours.com, no www.
Yeah, if you like tea, if you like wild mushrooms, crazy fresh fruits, and out of this world landscape, Yunnan is the place to be.
They always told me they're like Yunnan 菜出不了 Yunnan. It's like it can't get out of Yunnan because they think that so much of it is the fresh mushrooms you got today, the fish you got here.
Yeah,
that's a little bit exaggerated. But
it's hard to have a Yunnan restaurant out of Yunnan because you just can't get the ingredients.
Yeah. But anyway, enough. I would talk about Yunnan all day. Obviously, for people who don't know, that's where we get all of our pu'er tea from. It all comes from Yunnan. We also have a lot of red teas. We have white teas that are launching soon from Yunnan. We have a lot of really great stuff from Yunnan. So here's, we've looked through this here. My notes, can I give some notes?
Yeah.
Okay, so my notes here. First of all, I love the seal script. I think that's good. I like the idea of having the seal script there. I would add to that, somewhere on here, the image of our stamp. This is our zhang, like our company stamp.
There are different places you can use this kind of seal.
So where should we put the seal?
So usually, one, it's like the official seal.
Yeah.
They usually put right, because usually you sign it, right?
Yeah.
Then you have a personal seal that you put right below your own signature. Like Jesse, in the year 2024, and then you put your stamp on. Yeah, then there's 我们叫闲章, like casualty seals that you can put everywhere. Like the Chinese Emperor Qianlong.
Yeah,
he's famous for putting his seals everywhere.
He will
just like stamp everything with
exactly.
it. Yeah, but definitely I think we're gonna incorporate a lot of
we can incorporate the seal into the bit. So that's one thing that we could do.
Yeah.
Second note is
we can even make this a lot bigger.
Yeah,
you know how Qianlong, he actually put it right in the middle of the best place. Yeah, a lot of people don't like Qianlong.
Qianlong was not subtle with his.
It's not subtle. It's in your face.
Yeah, we should have a whole that seems like it'd be the topic if we were like a Qing dynasty court podcast. It'd be like 你知道乾隆皇帝他盖章的那个位置啊，哎呀，我这跟你说这敢中间呐，这怎么
太土了？
太土了，and then we would get arrested and beheaded. But it would be a great, if anybody wants to see us pretend to be Qing Dynasty illiterati court scholars and run a podcast on that, comment in the comment section below. That would be the most narrow channel ever.
I know. It's cosplay.
Yeah, that would be, is anyone doing that in China, running podcasts?
Probably not Qing Dynasty, just because of the Qing Dynasty is a men's hairstyle, if you don't know. It's one of the most notorious hairstyle in the history of China.
The queue.
Yeah, because traditionally Han Chinese men, they have full long hair and they put a bun, like a hairpin on the top. But then the Qing Dynasty's Manchurians, they always come across with the craziest hairstyle.
Yeah.
So they will shave half the head and then have a ponytail in the back and then braid it into a braid.
So in any case, we're not planning on launching that podcast anytime soon. So
maybe in 20 years after your hair gets long
exactly.
enough. Yeah.
No, my hair, you see, I mean, you look at this. It doesn't get long. My hair just goes out. I have the jufro, the 犹太式爆炸头.
Jufro.
I try to explain to Chinese friends. I saw Chinese friends. 你烫了头发吗? Like no, it's like this.
It's for a period of time, that's what's trending in China. Like everyone wants to perm their hair.
我的朋友花了很多钱就把你头发就烫成那个样子。太幸福了. I'm like, I don't feel happy at all. Like this is especially go outside.
Because people in China, they think their hair is too thick and flat. They want some volume to it.
Yeah. Well, I got the volume. Nothing but volume. So yeah, I really like it. I think this is the direction that we should be going. Couple things I could think of is if there's a way of making the tea tree more clearly a tea tree, because the tea tree shape.
I guess because I've never really seen a tea tree.
We'll send you some more pictures of it. They tend to be kind of.
They're bushy? Are they kind of bushy?
The ancient tea trees are. So you can grow tea as bushes, and we have bushes. But the ancient trees in particular, the ones that have grown wild for thousands or over 1,000 years, these are the ones that we get our tea from in Yunnan.
Okay.
They tend to kind of be really thick at the base, sometimes with multiple branches coming out at the bottom, like 2 or 3 trunks that have kind of grown together. And then they have relatively few leaves because they said it's like,
it's more like branchy.
Branches. There are obviously many different styles, like, you know,
yeah.
it's a tree, so it grows naturally, but we'll send you some things of that. I actually think it looks really pretty here, so I'd like to kind of keep the aesthetics of it, but
Or just change the shape a little bit.
yeah, like when I see this here where it kind of goes off to the right, and then there's a lot of stuff supported by this one spindly thing. That doesn't, when I see that as a tea guy, I'm like, that doesn't look like a tea tree.
I see.
That kind of go up.
Yeah, because I actually did this by hand because we do a lot of trees like this in Chinese painting, and then it's usually like a cypress tree.
Yeah.
Or like a pine tree, like a bonsai tree.
Yeah. So and so this looks really pretty as that sort of style, but yeah, so I think that would at least be worth experimenting with. I really like that tree. I wouldn't mind if that tree was here on the mountain
We can
or on one of
copy
the
and
other. Yeah, we
paste
can
over
find a
there.
way to use the art. That could be a thing. You know, this all looks really pretty. I think this is going to look very good as like a wraparound thing, and that'll be good for our Gaiwan, of course. So this sort of thing that we're doing, and then it'll also be really good for the cups. And I like also how we have these gradients from heavy blue to lighter blue to white.
Indigo.
Yeah, this sort of in the middle area I really like, because I think that will look really good. I would even say you could experiment. Well, I guess it'll look good. I like how dark the waterfall gets in order to show the.
Well, you want
water
to see the
coming down.
contrast. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really nice.
Like, you know, like the water here, it's a perfect example of, you know, negative space.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you don't need to draw waterfall.
Yep.
You just need to draw the mountain and then leave
the waterfall just
negative
comes out.
space.
Beautiful. Then for the villages over here, I almost wonder whether, I don't even know if it'll show up at the size, but I wonder whether we should have some people drinking tea in that little hut.
So that's the thing about scale. So Chinese art, they don't really have perspective. So everything is kind of like just in the distance, but even though that sometimes they will draw a little person, you know, in the middle of the landscape. But this is so small. So I wonder if it's actually gonna read.
I don't know. It may not read. But I
even
think,
for the houses you see here, it's actually out of
pretty
proportion.
small.
But then compared to the landscape here, look at that, they're big.
Yeah, they're
because
huge
this
compared
house is
to
like almost as big as the waterfall.
Yeah, but
that's the only way you can show it.
Yeah, but also because this is on a round thing, you'll never see those two things together.
That's true.
It's possible that if we have this as what's being seen, that people might be able to read a little person in there. I don't know. It's just an idea.
I can maybe do shadows of little.
Yeah.
You know.
So I think that's great. And then the last thing to look at would be these roofs. We can just do a basic check to see whether it's the Bai people or the or Miao people or some of the people in the areas, whether there's any sort of special type of roof.
Yeah, actually look it up. I don't think there's anything quite unique about their roof. They're not as ornamented as Han Chinese roofs. They're very straightforward. That's what I see. They're just kind of like.
Great. So as long as we've checked it, that's the other thing. That's the other thing again from this sort of like me. This is I feel my responsibility for being somebody who's making English language content about this. Like we could totally AI a roof that looks Chinesey and no one would ever know.
Yeah.
But for me, it's important that if we're doing this,
Yunnan roof specifically.
Yunnan roof
by
specifically.
ethnicity. Yeah.
Yeah, and make sure that it is of the same type that we're actually making.
Yeah.
So what do you feel about the result here? Are you happy with how this turned out?
I actually try to wrap this around, like I load this photo into 3D. I try to wrap it around something that's kind of like a cylinder. I think it looks pretty cool because if you think about it, when you look at a cup, right?
Yeah.
Oops. You're looking at segment by segment, you know, fragment by fragment.
Yeah, you only see
so
like
when you, let's say, when you look at this area, you are not going to consider, wait, does it match with here?
Yeah.
It's more like you're just focusing on this area. But then you like this area and then you move on to the next. So it's more about this illusion of passing through space and time. So you see here, and then you move to here, you see, oh, we went from the mountains to the Yunhai, to the cloud, and then here you see a little village. So when I'm looking at this village, I'm not gonna care too much about this mountain right here. That's how usually when Chinese people, when they look at like a scroll painting or like a fold painting, that's how they see it. They're one thing, but then also at the same time they're its own individual little areas. So I think I'm pretty happy with the outcome of this. But then, of course, the comments you have, it's really valid, and I think we can work on this a little bit more together.
Yeah, I think so. And so we're planning again to have this set. My goal is to try to have that set available by Christmas. We're also looking to maybe do some merchandise because people have asked for Jesse Seahouse merch for a long time. And I'm not a fashion designer. So we actually really did try within our team to kind of come up with merch ideas. And we even had everybody look at merch they liked and blah, 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 and send in PDFs. And in the end, it kind of just faltered because I didn't have a direction for where I wanted to go with it as the Laoban or whatever. So this is why I actually really like the idea of working with you on merch, is because I can say, okay, great, I have an artist who's helping me figure out the merch, and I don't need to be a graphic designer or a fashion, I'm not a fashion dude.
You just give comments.
I don't know, you think I would think ahead of time of what I'm gonna wear before we have people come with 4 cameras. I don't know what I'm wearing until the morning of. So I'm not the right guy to do that, but I think I am the right guy to kind of figure out how the tea fits in.
You know what your fans like.
Yeah, and what you guys would be interested in. So let's share a little bit about what we're thinking of the merch. And none of this is set, but we want to be bringing everybody along for the ride. Yeah. But what right now is the current thinking that we might do for merch?
You want to share first, or should I just start talking?
I want you to share, because I want to know what you think we've discussed. This is useful as a creative tool sometimes.
Well, we have a couple ideas. Yeah. This style. Let's talk about style. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking something kind of like a 1930s Shanghai commercial poster. Yeah. You have that woodblock print style. That's something that's more from like a mass production. In the 30s Shanghai style. So you kind of want to have some slogans, some words, some characters. That's also a time where China is embracing a lot of Western culture. So I think that's going to be an interesting crossover of culture we see there. But then the content of it, we're thinking, we have 2 ideas. One is the 6 different kind of Chinese teas. Yeah. From white tea, green tea, Qing cha, all the way to black tea to pooood tea. Yeah. Or we can do it more based on the ceramic style of different kiln in China. Yeah. Ruyao, Jinezhen, Qingci, all kinds of different, all kinds of different ceramics. So we have a couple ideas that we can explore with. I think eventually whatever that's the most visually stunning and then that communicate better with your audience will win.
Yeah, I hope so. And we're planning on making, I think, T-shirts or
T-shirts, hats.
Yeah, T-shirts, hats, maybe tote bags. Also thinking of maybe putting together stickers or postcards or...
postcards for sure.
It's on our potential things to have the art featured in a tea journal. So when you have your tea time, you'd be able to write, what tea am I having? What year is it from? What vendor is it from? Tasting notes.
Postcards for the holidays.
Yeah, stuff like that. So we're looking into a bunch of options for it. I think part of the other challenge of this is that I have to start essentially a clothing company now, because a lot of people solve their merch problems online by they just upload it to a website and then they can get the stuff made one at a time. And that's really good for a practical purpose of getting started soon. But I'm worried that if I start that, either we succeed or we fail. If we fail, we failed already. Whatever.
No, you need to believe in yourself.
Yeah, I think people will like them. People have been asking for them for a while. But if we succeed, then we need to switch up the whole thing, because we would want to make more of them, and we have a shipping chain set up from China. So the key, I think, is to make sure that we get quality stuff from China. And that's doable. It just takes, as we were talking about before, we need samples from the factories. We need to see the workmanship. We need to make sure we have some sort of connection with them, that we can actually make sure that our stuff gets made, because we're not going to be making millions of these shirts. So
yeah, and I'm pretty confident, because I've been making merch for. Can I even mention their names? Or no?
Yeah.
I worked for Paul Pierce, which is an NBA player before.
Yeah, I'm a big Celtics fan.
His merch and his brand. And after that, I was an art director for a lot of for public companies. So I don't really think there's going to be a problem of selling whatever we design.
Yeah. So the hope is I think this sort of collaboration way of doing things just feels better
it's exciting, to me. Yeah.
I think it's exciting, and it's good because we can come out with something that's going to be kind of like Jesse Tea House spirit, but it's not going to look like the other stuff that we came up with our branding. And I actually like that because I don't want to like, what do it like, if I sell Campbell's soup, I don't want to have a shirt that just has a Campbell's soup can on it. It's like I'm just putting a picture of what I sell on the thing. Like I want it to actually be something fun that people would want
there
to wear.
will definitely be a lot of my personal touch in the artwork I'll be creating for Jesse. And then I see it as a collaboration. It's not really like I'm doing this for Jesse. Yeah. It's more like we're working on this idea together that we're having You know, I have my artistic take, and then Jesse is just more like he give me advice on, you know, what his audience want. What I get a lot of market, you know, research from Jesse, and then I would just take care of the artistic part of it.
Yeah, and the cool thing about the internet now is like we actually made some polls on Instagram and on YouTube. The YouTube like posts function, actually, a lot of people vote on these polls. I'm like, would you like oversized T-shirts or regular sizes? And like, you know, we can actually get feedback. So if you see anything like that as we're trying to make the merch, help us out. Like, you know, throw in a vote there, because it's like the upside of the way that I do the whole of the tea business is we get everything formally imported, taxes paid, everything is like here, and it's in America, and so you can get your tea. If you get anything on the site, it's shipped off within 2 days. As far as I know, we're the only people doing that at any sort of scale for the US, and we're opening up new warehouses in the EU and UK. But the downside of that is I have to buy all the stuff before it comes here. I can't make them one at a time, and once we've committed, we're kind of committed to doing it. So I love having at least a note from you guys saying that.
Yeah, please tell us.
Tell
what
us
you
what
like.
you want to do.
Do you like oversized T-shirt? Do you like something more fitted?
Yeah.
Do you like something more subtle? Do you like loud, colorful stuff? Just you know, throw it out there.
Let us know. But before we finish, I wanted to do a quick lightning round. So for this lightning round, one sentence response.
Oh, what is
you know,
you didn't tell me about this.
No, I didn't tell you. That's why it's a lightning round.
Okay.
I'm an improv guy, so I just assume everybody else is totally fine with answering questions they have no preparation for. But that's me.
Okay.
Lightning round, just a quick response, and see where it goes. Okay.
Okay.
So.
Wait, tell me the rules. What are the rules?
First rules, I'm just going to ask a short question. You give me a short answer.
Okay, like
anything
really fast? Okay.
Yeah, just like, just first response.
Can I curse?
So, yeah, whatever. We take it out. First question, what do you think of the black tea?
Love it.
Love it?
Like, should I use a word to describe it?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Okay, bold and creamy.
Okay, very good. What's your favorite type of tea in general?
Hong cha, black tea.
Okay. And then if you could design a thangka right now, what would you put in the thangka?
I'll put a tea god.
A tea god? What is the tea? Is there a tea god?
No.
Oh, okay. We gotta find one.
But there is a Tibetan deity called Ye Yi Fo Mu. So it's like a female deity, and she's wearing nothing but leaves.
Oh, okay. So
and then she's supposed to be like a medicine.
Yeah,
kind of 有点像神农.
Yeah. Okay, so that would be a good fit.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. What do you think is one thing that Chinese painting does well and one thing that Western painting does well?
Western painting, I think the best part is the realism. Even, you know, back then.
Yeah.
Now, of course, everything is abstract. But realism from the Renaissance period. Chinese painting, I think it's more about the idea of it, and then it's harder to understand Chinese art because you kind of need to understand this artist, which is kind of like more like a modern art today. But I think that's the difference. And also I think they can go pretty well together. They both have their 各有长处.
Yeah, very good. AI and art, overall a good thing, overall a bad thing?
Good thing.
Good thing overall, very good. As an artist, what do you do to make sure you will not be replaced by AI?
You need to get your foundation done. You need to know how to paint. You need to learn the rule to break the rules.
Very cool. Last question. If you had to name this monkey something, what would you name it?
Something that comes to my mind, but then it doesn't fit at all, it's Tao Tao.
Tao Tao?
Tao Tao.
Tao Tao. Okay, Tao Tao.
Like a peach, I guess?
Peach. So, Peach is yours.
Oh, really?
Enjoy.
Oh,
yeah.
thank you so much.
You can take him back with you.
Oh, I think he's holding a peach.
Yeah, he's got a peach on there. So,
that's so cute.
Very good. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. Remind everybody where they can find you online if they want to follow you.
Follow me on my Instagram. It's Bolitashi. B-O-L-I-T-A-S-H-I.
Great. And for you guys that want to support the project, for now, all you can do is wait, give us your feedback, but hopefully we'll be able to make this Gaiwan set for you and have merch coming out. And our personal goal is to have these available by Christmas.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to get this stuff done, and so I hope we can pull it off. So
We will.
awesome. We will.
Yeah.
That's the confidence we need. I'm too like lax as a businessman.
Well,
I'm
be
just like,
confident. Yeah.
maybe we make Christmas, maybe we don't. It probably really
will,
matters
we
that we
will.
make Christmas, so we'll get it
If
done.
you guys want it by Christmas, we will get it done by
Yes,
Christmas.
exactly. So thank you so much. For those who don't know, my name is Jesse. I'm your tea guy. All the stuff that you see on here, you can find up on the website. This Tibetan dark tea is on the website. It's also part of the subscription box that launched in August of 2024. And if you don't know what to get, the subscription is what I recommend because I pick 3 really good teas. They come at a massive discount if you get them together as part of the subscription. And it's just a great way to get into tea and tea making. And you can do this with your own friends. You can make tea, have people over for a chat. It's a ton of fun. So other than that, I think we're good. I'm Jesse.
Simon.
And we'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.